has been 11 years since one of the darkest days in our history became known, of course, as the Marikana Massacre. 34 mine workers lost their lives when police opened fire on them at what was part of a strike up at Lonmin Platinum Mine. They were simply demanding an increase in wages, and many years later, some survivors are saying not much, if anything, has actually changed for them. Well, let's bring in one of those survivors who's very kindly taken time to join me this morning, Mzoxolo Magidiwana, joining us to talk about all those years ago and what it's like to have to live with this memory. Mzoxolo, good morning. I hope you can still hear me on the phone. If you can, would you mind taking me back to that day, to this day 11 years ago? Can you ever forget what happened to you?
Good morning, sir. Into ebalulekile engayitsho namhlanje ukuthi ilanga la nge-16 August into njengoba yenzeka imassacre ngo-2012 angicingi ukuthi wonke umuntu wayekhona ngeso sikhathi angayikhohlwa into eyenzeka. Izinto ezinje ngangibane ngizibona kwifilimu ngicabanga ukuthi hayi umdlalo lingazi ukuthi ngelinye ilanga ikaze yenzeke kum ekubeni lincane kangaka. Isebuhlungu enhlizweni yami kakhulu, bekunzima even izola ngikhonanga ukulala angilalanga ngendaba yokuthi nangifikelele ilanga namhlanje kuye kube ngathi kufike ilanga engathi kuzofika enye imfazwe enye impi, ngibe nokusaba futhi. Isebuhlungu enhlizweni yami kakhulu, isebuhlungu kakhulu futhi angazi ukuthi ngathi ize ile right isuke enhlizweni yami kwenzeke intoni ukuze nami ngizibone ngiyeka kwesimo okanye
Mzoxolo, let me just excuse me, let me just translate for our viewers. My team, thankfully, very kindly just giving me a sense of what you were saying. I just want to just briefly, just in English, just reaffirm what you were talking about, the anxiety that you experienced on that day. You're still experiencing that these days, the trauma still with you from what you saw, what you heard, and what you experienced as well. I want to ask, and I understand you're perhaps more comfortable in your home language. If you are comfortable to do it in English, it would be a huge help. If you're not, that's quite okay, Mzoxolo, I do understand. But what's changed for you in the last 11 years? Has anything changed? Has government helped you? Have you gotten the money that you were maybe supposed to get? What do you make of Lonmin, the mine? Tell me about the last 11 years for you.
Ekuqaleni ngoka-2012 bekunzima kakhulu ngoba after angilimele bengingaholi i-2 years yonke till kuze kungenelela amaloya wami ukuthi mangihole ngizoqala ukuhola kahle ngo-2019 uma ngisuswa emachapini sisiwa e-LPD ngahlangana nobaba oye wanomusa abathi wangisiza kakhulu futhi ukuthi ngikhona ukuhola, wangenelela ose-LPD oyi-manager e-HR khona ngakhona ukuhola. Namanje ngisahola kahle. Okunye ke obekunzima kakhulu ukuthi into lingohlula ukuthi anginabonus, angina-overtime, izinto ezinjalo bezingilimaza kakhulu empilweni yami ngoba nami uma kufikelela lesikhathi sokuthi ngifanele ngihole or ngesikhathi bekumele kanti ngithola ibonus engayitholi bekuba buhlungu enhlizweni yami ngoba ngihlele endlini angiye emsebenzini ngendaba yokuthi ngalimala. Okunye okuye kwashintsha ku-government ukuthi emveni kwesikhathi eside ngilinde ukuthi bagcine bangibhatala kodwa banabo bangibhatala enzima ngoba bebengafuni ukunginikeza imali besithi abanamali. Ngize ngabonakala ukuthi kumele nami ngingenelele ngicela amaloya wakhona la we-state ukuthi hayi kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi ngisayine offer isikhathi eside kangaka ngiqedile ukuphuma emakhoti kodwa kuyenzeka ukuthi imali engayitholi. Ngaba yini inkinga baze bothuka abantu utata Sinene advocate Sinene ukuthi angikayitholi imali bangenelela.
Let me stop and translate for the viewers so far there again, and also once again a huge thanks to my technical team just helping me translate. Obviously Mzoxolo very comfortable to speak in his own language about that day all those years ago, which of course is absolutely fine. That's completely understandable. Just talking about since 2012 how difficult life had been. So even a year after this had happened, it has not gotten any easier for him. Still very, very difficult. But it was around about that time a good Samaritan came in and assisted him to try and get his life back together. On the question I asked about the talk of money being paid to those who were injured and affected, their families, the loved ones, from government, Mzoxolo saying government did pay, but they kept on saying that they don't have enough and they don't have any more as well. And that's been one of the big issues. Mzoxolo, I'm going to ask you a last question as well. Feel free to answer how you'd like. We can do the translation afterwards. Today, what do you think has changed for workers at Lonmin or workers in South Africa? What I'm asking, Mzoxolo, is has anything changed for the working miners in South Africa?
Yeah, into ebalulekile ukuthi igazi lethu alizange lichitheke mahala. After kungene i-AMCO, impilo zabantu zatshintsha kwi-mining industry zonke la eSouth Africa. Masingayikhuluma iqiniso ukuthi namhlanje asaphethi ngayo 12,500 sesingaphezulu kwe-12,500 ngendaba yokuthi azange sithi ngoba siye salimala bese senze into efunwa nguhulumende kunye nongqowankulu abantu abaphethe izimine sanikela ukuthi kungcono baphinde basibulale uba bayathanda asingeke siyeke ukufuna imali till sade sayithola imali. Okunye okubalulekile kakhulu manje ukuthi imali si-right ngayo, kodwa kumele sike sibheke ukuthi inkampani esikuyo efana nesibanye yona inkampani engibona ukuthi isenzima kakhulu ukutreata indlela etreata ngayo abantu abasebenza kwi-mine. Ayinakhe ayinankathalo ukuthi abantu noba bangaphelelwa ngumsebenzi noba bangenzeka ntoni iye bagxotha namhlanje iphinde iqasha abanye iphinde igxotha abanye namhlanje idlala nje ngempilo zabantu. So yona into engibona ukuthi singakhona ukungenelela kwi-conditions zabasebenzi ukuthi abasebenzi noko batreat ngesidima esi-right, hayi ngendlela ekwenzeka ngayo yenza ngayo isibani. Kodwa kwimpilo yabasebenzi ukuthi imali bayahola. Impilo zethu namhlanje nathi sihamba ngemoto ezinkulu, siyakhile emakhaya ngesizathu sokuthi salwela imali sayifumana imali.
Mzoxolo, thank you. I appreciate your time. And of course, for viewers who are joining us, speaking to one of the survivors of this terrible tragedy, that's what you're looking at there, is the visuals. That moment 11 years ago, I think burned into the back of our social conscience and forever will be. And of course, we'll reflect on the Marikana Massacre every single year. It's been 11 years today. It would be later this afternoon if you want the more accurate time of day where that took place. The voice you were hearing was on the telephone of Mzoxolo Magidiwana, very, very brave massacre survivor, always willing to talk to us. Thank you to the team for organizing him as well. And I'm sure you didn't mind, of course you wouldn't, that he was more comfortable talking about the trauma, talking about the tragedy in his home language as well. So I was getting some of the translations. So just that last response from Mzoxolo saying that it's important that our blood was not spilt in vain all those years ago, hoping that the working conditions have improved. It has in some places, in other places it hasn't. I think I heard the name Sibanye-Stillwater. I stand to be corrected. He's saying that still when it comes to working conditions with Sibanye-Stillwater, they are still firing workers and instead choosing to only employ temporary workers, which we all then know that has no job security at all. But he does feel overall that the working conditions have improved, but there's still a lot more to do. Very, very brave of Mzoxolo to join us on the show.